Hi, everybody. It's really nice to see some familiar faces. I'm Patty Saylor, and many of you know me. I'm a nurse that works for many people in self-direction, and I'm on the board of SDAN. So I'm always the one to get to welcome you, and just wanted to take a minute because I know that we get a lot of people that are, been in this business a long time or have been self-directing for a long time, but then we get some people that are brand new. So just to let you know that this is an SDAN general membership meeting. SDAN is the Self-Direction Advocacy Network. And this was started only in 2016. It's still a voluntary, all voluntary organization, no paid staff. It's a nonprofit. And the organization was really started as grassroots advocacy in response to the DDA Waiver Amendment 2. So that just lets you know that we're fairly young still. We have no paid staff. Everything is being done out of the passion that all of you give us as board members, and the energy that we get from all of your communications and what we know that you're all going through. And many of the board, three of the board members are parents of participants, and we have Sunny, who's a board member, who is an SDS participant herself. So just wanted to give you a little bit of that background. So we're not some big sprawling organization with lots of infrastructure. Also want to take a second to thank all of you. We have on our membership, we have professionals, we have and people that are participants in self-directed services. We want to thank you for responding to our surveys, to writing and emailing and calling your legislators. Thank you for those of you that submitted your My Story stories that we sent on to the legislators on behalf of the Self-Direction Act bill that is in Annapolis, which we'll give you an update on that. Today's meeting is, obviously going to be packed. We know there's a lot of energy out there. We know that you've got a lot of concerns, and we have some updates to give you. Fortunately, and we count our blessings that we have been able to establish a working relationship with DDA headquarters, and we meet regularly. And we understand that that is a precious relationship, so that we want to keep the communication open with DDA so that we can solve problems as they come up and we can negotiate on your behalf. So forgive us if we're always asking you questions, but what we really need to constantly survey your needs and your concerns so that we can in turn turn around, and without giving your personal names or identifying information, we can represent your concerns. So sometimes I feel like we're asking questions all the time of you, but that is kind of the role here that we feel we have, is to understand what you're going through, what are the pros and the cons and the good things and the bad things, and what are things that need to get fixed, and we can turn around and then help problem solve those through negotiations with DDA. So we'll give you some of those updates. We do have guests, as we normally do. We have members from representatives from each of the FMSs that can give us some updates from their point of view. And then, as usual, we have Natoya Mitchell, who is the statewide coordinator for self-directed services. So she is at DDA headquarters. And Natoya has been invaluable to us as an ally and help us to continue negotiations, as have been the representatives from the FMSs. So just to give you a little outline of how we hope the meeting can go. We really want to hear your thoughts and questions. So if you can some of you send us questions ahead of time. If you can use the chat box to pose some questions, we will try to get to all those. Now, of course, when we have over 100 people, nobody can zero in on your particular individual customized concern you have with DDA, but we can try to give you an overview or give you some kind of answer to the to the broad subject matter if we have it. So we do have a PowerPoint that can kind of guide our presentation, but again, we want your input through the chat box if possible. And you can, of course, always contact us outside of the general membership meeting. You can, we're always open through the Facebook page or through the website for questions. So, okay, we'll hop right in. Ginger, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, so we are going to begin with a couple of quick polls. Whoops. Meg, unfortunately, I think you've shut down my polling.
How could I have done that?
Just logging in. Sorry, but I'm not able to start the polls.
Okay, well, let's see what can I do? Participants.
Logging out and logging back in is a different account, I think.
Okay, so you want me to log out, and am I Margaret Carter, or I'm SDAN host? Which one am I?
You're Margaret Carter.
Okay.
So here's the fallback position. Why don't we do this in the chat, and we'll just have to figure it out afterwards.
Okay, hold on. Let me just see if putting me in as Meg helps. Did that
Sorry,
work?
everyone. Technology is amazing until it's not, right?
Until it isn't. That's right. Nope. It is,
All right.
it is inactive on my account, and it may be. I'm thinking it may be too late. We don't want to shut down the meeting and start back up, reboot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think they're SDAN host. That's what my thing says. You're SDAN host.
Correct. That's me.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Ginger.
well, let's just go ahead and get going, and
Okay.
we'll do the best we can.
Here is the first question that we would like you to put in the chat. What is your role? Participant, family member, advocate, support broker, CCS, FMS, DDA, whatever. Tell us just what your role is.
I can see a number of things coming through.
Yep,
so
they're coming through on the
great.
chat. Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll give that about a minute. And then if you're done, then for question 2, for participants only, and many of the questions that we're going to be asking for people who are professionals, we love you, but we're trying to get a handle on what's happening with the participants. So which waiver are you a part of? So are you the community pathways? Are you community supports? Are you family supports?
Or you don't know.
Or you don't know. That's right. That would be useful to know.
Oh, then the other one was not in services yet.
Yes.
And the poll question doesn't pop up. It's hard to remember.
I know. Sorry about that, you guys. Okay, we'll give it another 30 seconds here. Okay, so let's move on. So now we're going to talk about the bill. So Alicia? Alicia?
You're muted.
Ginger, can you unmute her?
I fixed it. Sorry, guys.
Good.
Thank you very much and good morning. This is the second year that SDAN has put in a bill. We are very grateful to our 2 sponsors, Delegate Karen Lewis Young and Senator Susan Lee. They have been enormously helpful in getting our bills introduced and hearings held. Thanks to all of you who have helped us with that, with your stories and your letters of support. We had a tremendous showing, I think, during the hearings of people who supported the bills. It is appearing at this point that we may be heading for something called a summer study. I'm just learning a little bit about what that is, but it seems like it might be an awesome opportunity for us to kind of powwow with various political people and DDA themselves in order to work out any conflicts there may be, to learn where each other is coming from so we can come back better and stronger for next year. I think the interesting thing that may have happened from these 2 consecutive years of putting bills into the legislature is that we have made a pretty big impact, I think, on DDA. They know we're here to stay, and what we have to say is important for them to hear. It seems like they are more willing to listen to you all. So I just wanted to say thank you. We'll keep you updated in terms of what finally happens. And of course, we have a summer study. A lot of the survey information we get from you is enormously helpful. So I know surveys are a pain in the neck, but they really do speak volumes, especially some of the comments that that you all put into the surveys, and we can use them with or without your, well, we never use anything without your permission, but we can use the comments to fully drive home the impact of some of the policies that DDA has been choosing. So Meg, I think you're gonna do a little
I'm going to
intro
give
here.
a very brief summary of the fiscal management service request for proposals. So as you all know, quality fiscal management services are essential for a well-functioning plan. You know, you have to get your employees paid on time and correctly. And, you know, that is just so important. So SDAN has been, for our membership, has been advocating since 2017 for quality fiscal management services and for choice in fiscal management services, because we believe that is the choice drives quality. So quickly, as you know, there was an RFP for a monopoly in 2018. We were not only concerned about the lack of choice, we were also concerned about some of the aspects in that request for proposal that limited participant rights, actually. So we advocated against that. We went to the governor. That RFP was canceled. A very similar, almost identical RFP was issued in 2019. We continued to advocate for choice and for participant rights about that RFP. The long and the short of it is that request for proposals was finally awarded to a company last fall. We continued to advocate. It was a very long and torturous process, you know, about, you know, which company finally got that award. We continued to advocate, and that award was canceled after it was awarded. We were very happy about that. We had a lot of concerns about the quality of those services. We're not sure exactly how it all happened. But we know it was canceled. We do know that probably another RFP is going to come out very soon. We don't know what's going to be in that. We will continue. We have the same concerns. Choice drives quality, and we're concerned about participant rights. So we will keep you updated, and we will continue to work on that topic. Alicia, we can't hear you.
Oh,
Oh,
actually,
I wasn't talking. I think it's Ginger is going to talk about what we've learned about vaccines since.
absolutely. So we were hearing from a lot of self-directed participants that there were tremendous barriers to our participants receiving vaccines. And so, as we often do, we put out a survey and asked about it. And the results that came back were very clear. And we were able to give detailed information to the ARC Maryland, to Andy Culp, for those of you who are familiar with that organization, who was then able to use that information to really go and advocate, especially in the counties that did not recognize people with intellectual disabilities as eligible in phase 1B. And so let me reiterate what Alicia said. These survey results are such powerful tools for us to be able to do advocacy on behalf of the people in self-direction. So I know sometimes it's like, oh, not another one, but please, please, please respond to these surveys. It is just incredibly valuable. DDA pays attention when it's representing a lot of people. Other people hear numbers. And so it's really, really important. Okay, so what we found when we polled our membership with this particular question is that there were a number of things. We were really heartened to see that about a third of our participants were able to receive vaccines, or at least get on, get an appointment. But there were a lot of people, particularly in certain counties, that were desperately trying to get a vaccine appointment and were just simply not able to access it. And so this is where the ARC came in and really stood alongside us. Okay. So just to take the pulse of where we are now, because this was a month ago, so we really want to see what's going on at this point. We would like to ask, and again, focusing on participants, your vaccination status. So we would like to know, have you already received a vaccine? Or have gotten an appointment already? Are you on the waiting list in phase 1B? Are you on the waiting list, but not phase 1B because your county still doesn't recognize people with intellectual disabilities as eligible in phase 1B? Are you not interested for whatever reason in getting a vaccination? And if you wouldn't mind, would you let us know what the issue is? Are you not comfortable with the vaccine, possibly with safety or side effects? Are you waiting for access to the 1-dose vaccine? Are you not willing to go to these mass vaccination sites or any other clinic because they are not making proper accommodations for you? So that was one of the comments that came back, is that, something that a participant needed to be able to successfully be vaccinated was not offered at the particular places. So if you could please let us know what your vaccination status is.
My name's Amanda Del Riego. I'm unable to do the chat for some reason, and I'm a self-directed participant.
Okay.
And I have not received the shot yet.
Mm-hmm.
I keep getting an email saying, and I'm in Howard County, Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
and I sorry, I'm going to do this verbally because my chat thing is not working. So I don't know why it should,
Or Amanda, if you want, you can email me directly, because I know you have my email address.
Yeah, okay.
Feel free to just send me an email, and I will include that in the chat.
Okay.
The chat log. Okay.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Denise, right? No, Ginger.
Ginger.
Yeah.
Yep.
There. Okay. I gotta get everybody's voices. Yep. Okay. Thanks.
I know, because I'm not showing up except as anything other than a PowerPoint slide. I'm sorry.
There is one interesting thing that happened, I think, as a result of the prior survey, and Ginger was able to share some of those results, as she said, with Andy. Disability Rights Maryland and ARC of Maryland got together with some attorneys and filed suit with the, I think there were 5 counties that did not have people with IDD on their priority 1B list. And by the next day, I think all but one of them had amended their site to include it. So if you are in a county that didn't have it and you haven't checked back in the last week, go back and check to see if you can sign up with your correct priority. So I just wanted to update that as a hot off the press, a couple of days thing.
Thank you, Alicia.
Right.
And then the next question that we would like you to chat is for your staff. And again, are you able to get them vaccinated? Are they being turned away? Are they not interested? Tell us what's going on with your staff. And we realize that many of you have multiple staff, and so the answers may be different. One person's already vaccinated, another one can't get on the list, another one is not interested, whatever. So tell us all of that. Let's give that another minute for everybody to be able to type in their results.
I believe that staff are
1C.
eligible, 1C, and I think they're eligible at this point. And anybody who has a staff with a certified medical technician
Medication,
or say it again.
medication technician.
Thank you.
Certified medication technician.
Thank you. CMT or certified medication technician, they were eligible in priority 1A. So just wanted to let anybody know if they were in those circumstances that they can go out and, work it from that angle.
And for anybody that is concerned that any of the information you share with us, we do not share with your name or identifying information. It's really just to get an idea of numbers out there and what you all are dealing with. So I know many people don't like to give up their personal information, feel like they're going to be on a list somewhere. We are not interested in that, and we want to protect your privacy always.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Okay, and as we asked, if you are not interested in getting the vaccine, we're trying to get some insight into why that is. So please do chat. If you have, a particular reason, waiting for more information, seeing if side effects, deathly afraid of needles, sites don't provide needed accommodations. These were things that came back in our comments, or any other reason, and again, we will not, as Patty said, we will not release any information. This is a no judgment zone. We are just trying to get a handle on what's going on. Okay. Okay, so Alicia.
Great. Sure. So SDAN has been working on making the COLA available to members of the self-directing community. As you all probably know, there were two COLAs given. One that was available July, or supposed to be available July 1 of 2020, and the second one that Governor Hogan pushed for early COLA beginning January 1 of this year, 2021. DDA has agreed that people self-directing their plans are eligible for these COLAs. And some people have received a letter with specific numbers with the 4% COLA numbers in there. We are curious, I think, I guess step back a minute. These COLAs must be used for wage categories or benefits, as they have been, I think, for the last couple of years. The FMS are going to talk about a little bit more, but right now we're trying to collect some information and to see who among this group has received a letter. So Ginger, is that our next question?
That is our next question. Oops.
So who has received, I'm sorry, we'll go back in history a little bit. This is what we learned last December. Go ahead, Ginger.
No, I was going to say, go ahead. It's pretty straightforward. Most people had not received their COLA, and they knew that they had not. And that was a big surprise to DDA. They thought they had already given everybody the COLA through some mechanisms that they were putting in place. And it was a big surprise that, in fact, we had not received those COLA dollars.
Okay. So, okay. Did you receive a letter? I guess the answer is yes or no. If you didn't receive a letter, we're trying to determine why. So there are two possibilities, it seems. If you were not in the community pathways waiver, there was a glitch supposedly. And then there's another group of people who may not have received the letter, and we're trying to figure out why that is. And we think potentially your renewal date may be the key to that. So I'm curious, we're curious to be able to advocate for those. I think there are 300 people who DDA knows did not get a letter. And I believe the thought is that those people would have used the new budget tool, and that would have automatically incorporated the COLA in the rate system that it's using, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you didn't receive a letter, I would love to know when your plan renewal date is, so we can try to figure out who these 300 people are and whether or not they did in fact get benefit of the COLA, even if they didn't get a specific letter to that effect. And if I'm seeing in the chats, there are a few people with no letter. Okay, so we'll kind of look through this then and hopefully be able to go back to DDA and suss out a little more who didn't get the COLA and whether or not they should have. So,
Alicia, for people who did not get a letter, could you at least one statement about what that letter was?
Sure. The letter was written to each individual participant, came in the mail. So one of the reasons you might not have gotten it is the mail's a little bit unreliable these days. But in the letter, it specified both COLAs, the July 1, 2020 and the 4% amount. So they'll give you your start budget, 4% that increased your budget to by 4%. Then the then the January 1 COLA, the Hogan COLA, your start budget would have been what it was after the first COLA. It's a little confusing. And your final budget would have reflected both COLAs. So it's a little bit more than 8%, because when you compound the second 4% on the original one, you'll get a little bit more than an 8% bump in your budget from your initial approval budget. And it should have been a single page letter in the mail, and it was addressed right to the participant from I think MDH, Maryland Department of Health. But the letter itself did reference DDA and self-direction. So.
And this came out early February, so it would have been sometime in February. People should have expected it. And then, of course, the overwhelming question is access to the COLA.
That is an overwhelming question, and we have some experts here. The mail the letter was supposedly mailed February 5th. I can speak for our family. The letter came in on the 8th or the 9th of February. So if you haven't received it by now, I would say unlikely, unless, it's a crazy mail thing. So next slide. We want to welcome the FMSs, MedSource and the ARC Central Chesapeake region. So if you have questions for them, or if you guys would like to make an opening statement or comment, take it away.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Tracy Davis, Director at the ARC FMS, and I believe MedSource is on the call too, so we're both present. I think since we're talking about the COLA, I think it makes sense to go ahead and kick off our presentation in a way to address that common question about access, and that makes sense. So I kind of wanted to walk through that process and what this looks like from our perspective to help lend some clarity to that. So bear with me. I'm going to give you a breakdown of what our thought process is. The ARC FMS and MedSource, at DDA's request, have closely collaborated to create a really clear and effective COLA allocation process. And our focus has been truly on compliance and integrity. In the development of this process, we identified basically two aspects for which FMS would be held accountable. And I want to walk through that and talk about that a little bit more. The first aspect that the FMS is held accountable for is adding that 7/1/20 COLA and the 1/1/21 COLA funding authorized by the DDA to the participant's actual financial statement. That's what is going to allow for the allocation to be possible, right? So the idea is that you've been authorized this COLA funding, and now you'd have the authority to allocate it as you see fit, as long as it's in accordance with DDA's COLA policy. So with that being the first aspect, the good news is we've done that. We've accomplished this piece. So both the 7/120 COLA and the 1/120 COLA authorized by DDA will be added to participants' financial statements, and those statements will be distributed by your FMS provider 3/15/21. So that's Monday. You will see the COLA allocated to your financial statement if you were eligible and it's been authorized by DDA. At this point, I would say that the FMS strongly recommends participants now start having conversations with their CCS, their broker if they've got one, to determine how best to allocate the authorized funds. Like, what's the allocation look like? What's the strategy there? The second aspect that FMS is accountable for is processing the COLA allocations and processing the associated pay rate increases that the vast majority of participants will wish to grant once the funding has been allocated. And this is where the challenge for us comes into play. So at this time, we would be able to allocate the funding to a line item in your statement, again, as long as it's in accordance with the COLA policy that DDA has. However, the part where the FMS entities are challenged is processing those pay rate increases. We're currently in conversation with DDA regarding our needs for clear guidance that provides the FMS pay rate ranges that are permissible for us to process. So by history, we've always accessed the rates in the plans and budgets. And now that the current interpretation of the reasonable and customary is that we don't have a clear rate to ensure compliance with DDA's current guidance. So we really need something to reference to ensure that we're holding ourselves accountable to allocating that in compliance with what DDA wants to happen. And this is the issue that has to be resolved, but once resolved, we can immediately issue our allocation form and the processing guidance so that we can move forward. I hope some of that makes sense. It's a multi-tiered process, and we're almost there.
Does any, oh, go ahead.
This is Jay. I don't know if you can see me or not.
I can see you, Jay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Am I even in screen? Because I'm not coming up. Like, am I looking okay? Like, can you see my face?
You look fabulous.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Great. You know, the COVID 50, you know, it does wonders. Okay. I want to just tag along that, yes, everything Tracy just said is succinctly correct. And we were in conversation up until an hour ago. We can do every, you know, she's basically speaking from a collaborative thing. I want everybody to understand that. And we've not always done some or rolled out some of these things on the same way. So the fact that we're rolling them out the same way should make it easier for the participant, the support broker, the CCS, and hold DDA accountable so that when we have to come up with specific numbers, it will be good. So there are challenges though. Yes, we can show what the COLA is. We've only received 2/3, if that, of COLA letters. The rest have not come yet. That's been stated. We want to be in compliance and we want to improve the integrity of this program to do that. So the COLA, if you are eligible for the COLA, we can put that in there. We can only pay, as Tracy said, based on what your current plan is. If we don't have a plan, that's a problem. We need to talk to the CCS and have plans because there are still people without plans. The challenge that we have is that DA's language in their reasonable and customary does not jive with an accounting system or clear information and guidance that cannot contradict itself. It has to be the same. The explanation I can give is that they're saying a provider rate, but the provider rate isn't in the new and customary Excel sheet that's out there. So there are some inconsistencies that information is not clear, needs to be. So we can only pay out what is in the current budget right now. We are in collaboration with the ARC and DA. I've We've been on phone calls this morning with DEA talking about, how to correct this. Tracy outlined the 3 concerns for both of our agencies, so it's being streamlined. So that way support brokers don't have to act one way with one FMS and another with another FMS. We're kind of looking at this as the same way PK was rolled out. But the guidelines again on that they were very clear. You could use your Appendix K2000 for 4 things. You send in the Form 5 and we did it. Well, by sending in this, there's some ambiguities here that from a reconciliation point where we have to say, yes, they use their money in the correct ways when the state reviews that is very tenuous right now, and that needs corrected. And we're hoping, as Tracy said, we're really hoping for quick resolution of this from DEA. Does that help?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of questions. One is people are asking when this is worked out, under what categories can the COLA be applied? Did either of you want to?
So there's a DDA COLA policy. It's dated 7/1/17, and that's the policy that we will utilize as there's no more recent guidance. And we do have that linked in our processing guidance and our form when we're able to share it. But you will maybe you can find it on the website that DDA has, but it does indicate very clearly where those COLAs can be allocated.
Okay.
Essentially, it boils down to wage line items
And benefits.
and there's even goods and services addressed.
Okay. And then there's another group of questions about retroactive pay to January, and will that be allowed?
Yes, we will be able to process retroactive pay rate increases back to 1/1/21.
Okay, I think that was the bulk of what I'm seeing.
We're also seeing, Alicia, what about the July 2020? Does that just risk being lost completely? If it's, do they run out of time, or is there any retroactive on that?
Both COLAs can be allocated at the same time, and we can retroactive pay rate increases associated with both COLA allocations to 1/1/21.
So that people would get the money in the 2021 calendar year, but it could have been a retroactive from last year in terms of the calculation, the figuring out of the amount. In other words, you're going to get the money in 2021, regardless of which COLA it is.
The payment can be only retroactive to 1/1/21.
Okay, so the income counts in this current year
Yes, that's correct.
for the person. Okay. And then the only other thing I think I want to ask you guys, there are a couple of people who maybe should have gotten it. There was somebody who might have moved in the interim and didn't get the letter. If they were to open a ticket or contact, how would they, if they didn't actually get a physical letter, is there a way that they can check with you guys to see if in fact it had been, if you received the data, if it had been in fact allocated, but the letter never showed?
They would see it issued on their statement as a COLA allocation. If we receive data, it'll be on the 315 statement. Otherwise, you were not eligible.
Okay, so on Monday morning, if you'll see your statement, if you're, I guess from both of you, does MedSource, do you also put statements out on the 15th? Jay? Okay.
Yes,
Well,
on the 15th. You there?
I missed that. Did anybody else?
Our statements will be going out, yes.
Jay, you're breaking up really bad.
Take the video, stop the video.
Jay, you're breaking up really bad.
Okay, we'll check on that later. We'll get Jay to write it down for us in the chat box, perhaps, because we can't hear you, Jay. Okay, I think, okay, so I guess we're moving on. Thank you, guys.
Hello, this is Elliot Greer. Do you hear me?
Yes.
I don't think we do hear you. I don't.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I do not use chat, but if the call was issued effective, it was supposed to be issued in July, but couldn't have been used until January. It's as if you missed 4% from July to January, 6 months worth of 4% of your budget. You didn't have a chance to give your people a raise for that 6 months. Now you have a chance to give those same people a raise of, let's say, 8% for the period January on. Why can't you retract all the way to July with a 4%? I mean, I'd like to be able to give those people a 4% raise for 6 months, followed by a 8% raise for the last 6 months. And that seems to be impossible. That's the question. Does it seem to be impossible?
Tracy, do you want to talk about just talk about the retroactive piece one more time?
Sure. Yeah, the DDA has granted us the authority to process retroactive pay rate increases back to services provided since 1/1/21. That's the parameters that we're working within based on DDA's guidance to us regarding this processing.
So I think the answer is
To chime in on that, to chime in on that, the money is being carried for like the year 7/20 to December, that 4% is in that money that was carried for the additional 4% on January 1st. That's why I believe DDA is allowing them to go back to the 1st of January, but not prior. And the gentleman is correct that yes, if you didn't use it, then you can't access it until January, but it's also built in the January as they update their annual plans. Does that make sense?
Jay, yeah, well, we're having trouble hearing you actually, breaking up pretty badly. So we will try to, I don't know, we'll try to fix that. If you want to put something in the chat box, Jay, that everybody can read, that would be awesome. But most people couldn't hear, it was just breaking up too badly. All right, in the interest of time, I think we probably should move on to the next thing. I would suggest if anybody has individual issues that weren't addressed here, to contact your FMS directly, and they will be happy to, I'm sure, work with you to try to straighten it up. And, you know, if you have anything further for us specifically in terms of who has or hasn't gotten a letter, feel free to contact us via email, and we'll try to figure out who's missing and why. So, okay, so we're going to move on talking about budgets and plans. As people are working on their budgets and plans, I understand from DDA, and I don't believe Natoya's on quite yet, that DDA is trying to have an approved plan for everybody by the end of June of this year. SDAN has been working on a renewed, revised participant agreement because we've been concerned about the authorized representative, designated representative signature information and what that might mean to a participant. We are working on trying to clearly identify upfront those participants who wish to make all decisions on their own and not really need anybody else on the team to help them. Those participants who might require or even just want some help on specific issues and designate a particular team member to help with that particular issue. Maybe they need help in interviewing the staff, or maybe they need help with or they just don't want to do the timesheets, that they would be able to direct somebody on their staff to do that, and it would all be documented as part of a participant agreement. Until that actually happens, DDA has indicated their interest in that, but it is not yet an accomplished fact. At the moment, when a plan is done, there are some boxes that are checked that produce a authorized representative signature page. We're just giving you a heads up that if a person signs that authorized rep or designated representative, the waiver states that the person, the designated representative, whomever that is, and their immediate family, their spouse and their children cannot serve as staff for the participant. So if you have a participant in your family and mom or dad is the designated representative, then the other parent cannot be staff, and none of the participant's siblings could be staff either. So it's just something for you to be aware of when you're signing something. Take a look at it, make sure you understand what the ramifications might be of that particular word, those particular phrases: authorized representative, designated representative. So the next thing is we've all
Alicia,
sort of—
can I say something?
Please, please.
I just want to let everybody know that this is a really good example, the participant agreement, of how we negotiated with DDA. Initially, DDA was very much wedded to everyone having a designated or authorized representative, that they felt they needed to have somebody sign on the bottom line of this participant agreement. If it was not the individual themselves taking responsibility, that it would be a designated rep or authorized rep. We represented you, those of you that said, whoa, that's going to mean I can't work for my son or daughter, or their siblings cannot do that. And the individual participant wanted the family member to work for them. So we really hashed this out over a long period of time, and they have agreed to a team concept. DDA has agreed that an individual who does not feel that they want to or can self-direct all aspects themselves, that they could, appoint people on their team to help with some of those budget authority or employer authority duties. So I just wanted you all to recognize that that was a negotiated point, and DDA agreed. So there is a way for you to maintain the ability to work. If the individual wants you to work for them, a family member to work for them, there will hopefully be a way that can happen. But beware of that, as Alicia said, beware of signing as a designated rep or authorized rep, and just to know what those implications are if you do sign that.
Just going to touch ever so briefly on the DSAT, the Detailed Service Authorization Tool, and the service and rates, just because we all had, or some of us had a little scare yesterday with a document that was put out. So the new way of doing things is to create a parity between the budgets of a person who's self-directing and a person who's in a provider. So once you establish what a person actually needs, there is one single rate there is a rate for each different category, and the budgets are figured out by multiplying the number of hours times the rate for each individual service, and you get a total number. And then you sort of work your way backwards, because those big numbers, those big rates include things like 14% taxes that need to come out. They include transportation. They include costs of getting first aid and CPR if you choose to. They can include mileage reimbursements. And once you've backed out all those pieces, you have another number, which may or may not be what you would choose to actually pay a staff person. So so I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's where we are right now. There are no longer caps on the reasonable and customary rates. Those rates will be now filled out by using this, the detailed service authorization tool, and backing out the components that any individual participant will need to arrive at a rate. So your rate can't be less than the minimum wage in your county, and it can't be more than the provider rate less the 14% taxes and any other benefits, transportation, and all the other things that you would have to back out of it. So it's a new way for us in self-direction to think about creating budgets. We're hoping to come up with a kind of tool, a set of examples of how one could use these new rates and back things out in the next, hopefully, well, in the next week or so, with any luck. Somebody was asking what the provider rates are. February 11th. That is, I guess, what they are now calling reasonable and customary. The memo that came out February 11th. I'm trying to see if I can.
Can everyone who's not speaking, please mute? We're getting a lot of background noise.
So it looks something like this, just so you can kind of see. This will show the rates. Oops, I don't know if that's even better, but this is the newest, the current sheet, and you can find that on the DDA's website, and maybe somebody can even post it in the chat box. So you can go back to the PowerPoint, I guess. Thanks. Thank you. So I hope that gives you just a start. I know it's new to all of us. We're all kind of trying to figure it out. Your CCSs have been trained on it. There is a recorded presentation. I think it was on the February 18th. Is that right, Patty? Do you remember?
Say it again, Alicia.
There was a webinar discussing it. I think it was February 18th, and I'm pretty sure it was recorded and on the website too. So can SDAN post the rates on the website, on its website? We can share the link on our website, certainly. The next thing I wanted to talk about is working with DDA. We were able to have them change the policy on individual family goods and services. Oops. Yep. Whoop. Yep. This memo was released March 8th, and so now participants are able to use cost savings using that the detailed service authorization tool. Once you pull out all of your needs, you've got your rate, you've got your taxes, you've got your transportation figured out, and whatever other pieces, if there's money left in that big pool, you can take as much as $5,000 from that and put it into the individual family directed goods and services category. So you no longer have to wait until your plan's approved, then find savings, then go back to DDA. So it's all wrapped up in your person-centered plan. These services are limited to $5,000 per year. And in addition, there is a $500 dedicated amount to staff recruitment efforts. So advertising in different places to get staff. The individual family directed goods and services can be used for things like art classes, music, activity therapies, horseback riding, various things like that. I am not going to pretend to be an expert on the full expanse of what those can be used for, but we are hoping to come up with either a waiver quote of what it can be used for, and I think it's in. Carol, can you help me out here?
Okay, I'm trying to read questions, so I really are not hearing what you're saying. There's so many questions about this. So say
Okay,
what
so
you said
maybe
again. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Not
that's okay.
the
I'm just
IFCGS, but the rates. And so I'm like trying to figure out how to.
Okay, well, hang on a
Okay.
sec then. So the individual family directed goods and services, Natoya's on now, we can talk to her about it. But somebody asked if they could use it for, for horseback riding, and I know the answer to that one is yes. I don't know whether it can be used for speech therapy, but perhaps Natoya, if you're on, are you there?
I don't know if she's there or not, but it should, there's a category, there's a budget category. Well, it's for assistive technology. So speech therapy, yeah, that's a Natoya question. Something different than assistive technology.
Right, assistive technology has its own category. So I don't know the answer to that, that particular question, but therapeutic services, what used to be called art therapy, music therapy, HIPAA therapy, those are now going to be titled activities, but they absolutely can be paid for out of this individual family goods and services. So, and I do think the person is somebody just answered the speech therapy, and I do believe that's right, that if it was going to be something paid by Medicare, Medicaid, then DDA wouldn't cover it. But I don't want to say for certain, since I don't know.
Yeah, let me just say, SDN really can't answer all their specifics. Hopefully you can recognize that, based on all of your concerns about this, we were able to make some headway with DDA, and they actually said, okay, we will not make you go through all of that, find the savings, come back and revise your plan. That's what we can do for you, is trying to negotiate these big things. When you really need to know whether one particular service is covered in your individual plan, you're going to really need to work that out with your CCS or email us maybe outside of this forum. But we really don't know that list of what you're going to be able to get approved and what you won't, but we can advocate on the kind of bigger picture of that.
Thanks, Patty. And I think that was really what I was trying to say. The good news is that we were able to advocate for you to save time, so that and aggravation, that that in your PCP you can start right away, get your individual family directed goods and services approved. So there shouldn't be then a gap in the participant's ability to access the activity or whatever is under individual family directed goods and services. So if we can just move to the next slide.
Can I just kind of, okay, well, we're on, this is what we're discussing. That this is what
so the next thing,
this is where the majority of the concern and confusion is in the comments. Yes. So go ahead, Alicia.
Okay, so the individual family goods and services letter was sent out via email on the 9th, I think, of March.
There were a lot of letters in there. So it didn't say one specific thing. So go back and look for the last couple of days with a ton of things.
So this letter came in yesterday afternoon. It was in response to one of the memos released on March 8th that I think received March 9th, with the original memo with the very low rates. That memo is now sort of you can disregard that. They released these at a glance memos that you can see on the PowerPoint screen. You should be able to access your email from yesterday and see it yourself and be able to read it, obviously much better than you can read it here. It is clear from this at a glance clarification memo that your staff rate is the minimum wage in that county that you're operating in. And then the maximum rate is, what I was described, which I understand is a bit confusing. The provider rate, which includes wages, taxes, benefits, and such in that. This is the at a glance is a 2-pager. So I think we just had the one so you can recognize it when you see it again.
I think what you guys need to realize is that second thing that came out this week, where the rates were lower than they were in 2017, that's gone. That doesn't apply. The statements that they made about you can pay your other employees at a higher rate, but then, they're gone. That was that they were trying to clarify, they were trying to help, and it caused a lot of
Confusion.
confusion, anger, and so they did this thing that came out yesterday around 4 something, the at a glance, to correct and actually state what they intended to state. So a lot of the questions have to do with things like we can't pay new staff what above those rates, and those rates were never meant to be your caps. They were never meant to be the be all end all rates. They were just examples and an attempt to
I think
help.
the problem happened with the 2020. We've all come to realize that the 2017 usual and customary were used in a particular way. They were used as concrete highs and lows of what you could do. The 2017 is gone. Now we have the detailed service authorization tool, that budget amount. All of your CCSs know this and know exactly what it is, so you can contact each one of them individually. They should send you the memo. That you can find it on the DDA website. It's dated February 11th, and you can see all the provider rates. So disregard the 381 with the very low rates, and disregard the 2017 one for your next plan year approval. So from now on, ostensibly, we will be using this budget that establishes the parity. So in other words, you have this budget. Now with this amount of money, you could choose to go provider, traditional provider method route, or you could go self-direction. And so this is finally, I guess, a way to achieve parity in numbers, in budget numbers. It is really important to note that for a lot of people, this budget number is super high, or much higher, let's say, than it was before. It doesn't mean you need to use it all. You shouldn't use it to use it. You should use it to fit the person's needs. So I think that it's a new technique for us all. And working with your support brokers and your CCSs, we're all gonna try to figure out the best way to approach it. But it is an awesome approach, because now you're able to access things like the individual family goods and services. You're able to give people raises, and you're able to pay staff with certifications and degrees more than they might otherwise get paid. So it has added some flexibility to our plans. So I think I want to say thank you for this opportunity to DDA to create this parity and to have us have more flexibility in getting our needs met. Anything else, guys, or we go ahead?
There's a lot of questions, but you addressed the major concern is
Okay.
Is that
yeah, somebody, Tracy, you what did you posted a link to?
Sorry, I just posted the link to DDA's website with the
Okay.
self-directed guidance
Great.
and webinars and forms. It's one-stop shop for everyone.
So just what Alicia said, we're trying to get them to get rid of the term reasonable and customary, because it does have the connotation of caps.
Correct. And so that's why this is labeled something different: self-direction, setting services, wages, and rates at a glance. So
okay, can I intervene just real quick? Are you seeing me?
We see you.
Can you hear me?
Right now.
Okay, great. The fact that they're coming back, and I agree with what you're trying to do, that you don't want the rates to be have reasonable and customary, have a bottom and a cap. However, for your information, for the past 3 years, we were audited, both the ARC and MedSource, and they're asking back for every dollar that we paid above reasonable and customary rates, even though they were approved. That's our concern with rolling this out.
Sure.
is
No, I
that-
understand your concern, and it's obviously a valid one. But we can talk about it outside of
Well,
this.
so you're implying that we can roll this out, and we're Tracy very
No,
clearly.
I'm not
said,
implying. I'm not trying to imply anything about FMSs and what they can and can't do. I'm solely working on how DDA is planning to go forward. As far as they're concerned, there isn't going to be the reasonable and customary rates anymore. So I don't. We can talk about it outside of this, and it's a great discussion to have. But
Yeah, Jay, I mean, based on our conversation today, Jay, it's definitely something we have to talk to DDA about, and we understand your position, and it makes sense what you're saying.
So Natoya, are you on yet? No. Okay.
Everyone, yes, I'm on.
Oh, okay, good. Hey, Natoya, I have a question. Somebody's asking, what should a family do if or maybe you can't, maybe I should just wing this, but I'm gonna ask you. What should a family do if the authorized rep, designated rep form prints out and they do not want to be a designated representative or authorized representative? What should they do?
Sure. So if it's an error, they should redirect that back to their CCS so that they can properly put the information into the long-term service and support system, which is LTSS.
Okay. And is there something that you know of that triggers it?
From my understanding, there is at least 2 different places that actually triggers it. And that's usually done like on the face sheet when they are completing the information for the participant, as well as
having breaking up issues. We're having breaking up issues with Alicia and Natoya.
Oh, I can hear her.
Sorry, let's try something.
Usually, if you're having trouble with breaking up, if you turn off your video, that will help.
She's coming through clearly on my end. I don't hear her breaking up, and I don't hear Alicia breaking up either.
Yes, the same is true. That's why I was saying it's probably the individual.
It might be I have a ear thing in and I was moving my head and my hair. I don't know. I'll turn off my video for now and see if that helps. So I was suggesting, Natoya, that people don't sign it.
If it doesn't apply to them, then no, they shouldn't sign off on if it doesn't apply.
Okay.
I would agree with you with that, Alicia.
Okay, but last year, Natoya, we had a whole meeting about this. And so if it applies, people still don't want the outcome of it. And one region in particular was keeping family members from working as staff if they signed that form, and they inadvertently signed that form. So we're making sure people are aware of that consequence. And that's why we were promoting the participant agreement in lieu of that form, but it's still printing out. And so with really unintended consequences on the family's part when they sign that form.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that, Carol. I am making a note that it's still an ongoing issue regarding the printout for it. So we'll be in touch regarding that.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Should we move on then to the next? Go ahead.
Okay. So the next thing that we looked at with our survey was the number of people that had approved budgets. And what we were hearing was that there were a lot of people who did not have their budgets approved at that particular time. Now, this survey was taken in December, and as you can see, about 40% of people did not have their budgets. And that was actually quite surprising to the people at DDA when we talked to them, because it was their understanding that, you know, most of them were approved and there were just a few stragglers. And so the that's one of the important things that we want to make sure is that everybody has got a budget to be able to support their or each participant so that they can receive their supports. So the next thing was going to be a poll. And so we just want to take a quick pulse to find out how things are right now. So
can I ask for a change in this and just have everybody do thumbs up or thumbs down, because it's really hard when all of these things come back yes, no, with all the other questions.
Okay, but can we count those other than with our eyes?
No, but okay. Well, all right, go ahead. Go ahead, do
Post-process
it.
the chat. We can post-process that. We don't have to count them right now.
Okay.
So can everybody please put in the chat whether or not you have an approved plan for the current plan year, not anything that you're in negotiation for next year. Just right now, do you have an approved plan?
Paraba. See how she was telling you last night. Use paper mark, you breastfeed from the left, you breastfeed from the right. That's stress.
Somebody does not have their mute button on. We can hear you. Kate?
For the lane.
Kate, is that, there you go.
We move on.
Yep, I think we're ready to move on. Okay. So the next, okay, Alicia?
Okay. So I can't see the top of the PowerPoint here.
Supported living in lieu of personal supports.
Okay.
The top line.
So, SDAN it's come to our attention that supported overnight supports is an issue that many people are having. And in fact, that many more people will be having in the future, and that there are gaps in service. So what we've learned right now is there are some people who use personal supports as overnight supports. DDA did away with that, but did grandfather people who had it in. We are wondering if all of the people who should have been grandfathered in were in fact grandfathered in. But the way currently supported living is, that's the service that is available to self-directing people who need overnight supports. Currently, if you needed this, you must use an agency. All of your hours must be turned over to the agency, so you lose control over everything but your day services, approximately 40 hours. So 128 hours of 168 hours of a week is turned over to an agency. So there's a huge gap in service for people who, first of all, don't want an agency, people who are living in their family home that want to stay there, don't have services under this category. And there's really no way to truly self-direct your program without a way to self-direct, all of your program, all of a 24-hour period. So we are looking for, we're talking to DDA and they're listening about what are the needs out there. What are the needs currently? What are the needs going to be? So we need your stories, please. Obviously, we're not going to be able to listen to individual stories today, but if you could contact us via email and share even a brief description of any difficulties that you're having getting the overnight hours met, that would be great. So in the chat box, please send your stories to Carol C. at marylandsds.org. That's SDAN's main email address. So we would love to hear what's happening with you and stories, and whether or not you would, talk to us more, and we can use you as examples of what the needs are out there. Let's do the next slide, because I think we have some other information. This is, I'm going to turn it back over to Ginger to go through what we learned in December.
Okay, so this obviously was a question that a lot of people had been struggling with. And so we again took a poll, and we were not surprised about the main breakout of how many people actually required overnight supports. We expect that between 10 and 20% of people who are self-directing need awake overnight supports. And so that number was not surprising, but we were kind of surprised when we were seeing how many people, even if it was listed in their PCP, were being denied. And in some cases, they put it in, they were denied. In other cases, they were told, don't even ask for it. And that was the one that I think really threw us back on our heels, because if you don't even ask for it and it's something that you need, then that information never even gets to DDA. They don't even know that there is a gap in service. So it's really, really important that if you are in that situation, that you make sure that you ask for what you need. If it's in your PCP, there's no reason that it should not be asked for. And then, so again, we want to take a pulse. Do you currently require overnight supports for health and safety reasons? Okay.
So you can just do a quick answer in the chat box. And
in the chat box, yeah.
I do think it might be important for people to, when they're redoing their PCPs, to take a moment. I think there's a section in there that talks about where a person is choosing to live, and it might be worth a sentence or two about what the current situation is and choices, and what happens if, for example, like in my family, if my son's, if we stop giving overnight supports because we no longer are able to, what would be our plan for him? What would be his plan
That's
in the
slides
future?
ahead, Alicia.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just wanted to make sure that the people who need overnight supports were able to see this slide
Gotcha.
and tell us the situation right now. And then the next question we're going to ask you is exactly what Alicia was just talking about. So, okay, I'll give it another 30 seconds here for people to respond. This one may take a minute for them to type up.
I'm seeing a little bit of everything. So.
Yep. And I'm at this point, because I'm sharing my screen, I can only see that the chat box is flashing. So we'll just wait for the chat box to stop flashing. So give everybody enough time to tell us what's going on. Okay, it seems to have calmed down a little bit. Yep. So, all right. So, so then the next issue was exactly what Alicia was talking about, and our family is in exactly the same situation. I'm perfectly happy to provide overnight supports for my daughter, but what happens when I'm not able to do that? And so I'm in the process right now of thinking about future planning, and this is looming large in my in my list. So this is the question that we want to ask you. If you are not currently receiving overnight supports, in other words, it's not currently in your person-centered plan, or your family is just providing it for free, if something happens, if there was a major change in your participant's living situation, would you then need some kind of overnight supports? And we would like you to distinguish between awake overnight supports, and this is somebody who is staying awake, ready to jump and turn somebody, change them, make sure they don't fall when they're getting out of bed, help them with toileting, all of those kinds of things, and you need a staff person sitting there awake, versus there needs to be somebody in the house in case the fire alarm goes off. So that would be my situation, that, if I was not there to provide that support for free, that somebody would need to be there to support my daughter.
Or even if it's not for even that kind of emergency, but somebody needs to be around to help if somebody does get up in the middle of the night, doesn't feel well, or,
Right.
Needs some help or.
Exactly. But the staff person could be asleep until needed versus they need to be awake all the time. So that's what we're trying to get a handle on, is that difference.
I was seeing a few people on there who think they should have been grandfathered, Natoya. And so would it be reasonable for them to reach out to you specifically on that subject matter?
Sure, that'd be fine. And I'm going to include both my telework cell phone number and my email in the chat so that everyone can have it.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Toya. Okay. Still flashing a little bit, so we'll give it another 30 seconds or so. Okay.
And while you're waiting, I just want to jump in there and say again, this is a point that we negotiated with DDA a while back in representing that people suddenly were not getting their overnights approved, and they had overnight personal supports. And it was at that moment in time that we were able to present that need. And Deputy Secretary Simon said in the meeting we were standing in that he would grandfather in all people who had overnight supports for an assessed need that had suddenly lost them, and that the state would be paying that, or DDA would be paying that out of state only money. So again, you letting us know what you needed, we were able to intercede at that point. Now, went on, the years went on, and people weren't getting them denied, and all the things that you just heard, like being told not to even ask for them. So what it really does work when you tell us, we can try to make an impact.
Okay, I was going to suggest that maybe, Carol, all of the questions that had come in for Natoya, since she's here, maybe now would be a really good time to give those questions to her.
Okay, I'm still trying to monitor what's coming in. So I may miss the newer ones, but okay, hold on. They're all over the place here.
Some was about plans, Carol, and what happens if you don't have an approved plan, and how do you get a revised plan, and is this really going to be done by June 30th? So maybe that issue.
Okay, well, so what do you mean by John? So what my understanding is, and Natoya, you can address this, what's going to be done by June 30th is everybody's going to be put into the LTSS system and their budget done by that, correct?
That's correct. And in addition to that, DDA is looking at an expedited process to ensure that people's plans are reviewed and approved. We do know that there is a backlog within the PCP review process. So additional information is forthcoming as to what that might look like. But as of right now, yes, the plan is to ensure that everyone has an approved budget and plan by the end of June.
And I think that the question, and there's kind of a disconnect in this question with DDA, is that there are people whose current year plan that may have started July 1st or may have started at a different time is still not approved, and their next year's plan is coming up. So all plans that are July 1 have a July 1 implementation date should be approved by June 30th anyway. So it's like there's an over, and it's not this year's plan, it's next year's plan. So it's kind of what do you say to the people whose current year plan is not approved, and how will the process affect, how will all of this affect them?
Sure. So everyone should have a plan approved. A plan approved, right? We are aware that there are some people who don't have their fiscal year 20 plan, and that had been rolled over from fiscal year 19. If anyone does fit into that category, you might need some assistance, you can reach out to me directly. And again, my information is in the chat box. There has been some instances that I became aware of in which I worked with the CCS as well as with some of the participants and advocates as well, just to ensure that one, it's one that was reviewed by the region, and then two, just making sure that any subsequent plans thereafter will also approve simultaneously, so that it can be that continuity of a plan that's approved.
Okay, so basically the people that said their plans are not approved, their current plan year is not approved, you're telling them to reach out to you.
Yes.
And your contact information is in the chat.
Yes.
Okay, so that takes
Is in the chat at 223. Like that's right now, it's the third one up from the bottom.
Right. So, okay, so is DDA's intent then to have by June 30th, 2021, the new fiscal year plans approved, and as people's plans expire, those new plans done in the new LTSS?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and someone just asked what's my official title. So I'm the statewide coordinator for self-directed services with DDA. So hello again to everyone. And for those of you who didn't get a chance to meet me, hello, please reach out. You can give me a call, you can send me a text, or you can send me an email.
All right.
She's your go-to gal.
I'll take it.
All right.
A couple of things go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to look at the things that are definitely notorious. How can someone get self-direction if they don't have it?
Oh, sure. So if a person has an interest in self-direction, what they can do is they could reach out to their CCS and let them know that they do have an interest in self-directing, and then the CCS can assist them throughout that process. And so just ensure what that kind of looks like is, if they're not already within one of the waivers, just have an idea of what some of those services that they would like to have that will help them, and then start thinking about staff that they want to hire. So, there are two important authorities that a person who's self-directing have is obviously that they have the employer authority, and they also have the budget authority for select services and supports.
Okay, but the first step is to talk to your CCS and tell them you want to switch.
Yes,
right?
Yes, and they can facilitate that process.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just flipping back and forth between everything that I've
Carol, I saw a question. Somebody was asking if the detailed service authorization tool was only used in traditional services, or is that used for people that are self-directing?
Right. So there is the tool is called the Detailed Service Authorization Tool. Yes, that is for traditional providers. However, the DSA, which is the Detailed Service Authorization, which is a process that people in self-direction are to utilize to assist them to make sure that there is parity, again, with the folks who are in traditional services, as well as people who are receiving services in self-direction.
All right, so what people need to understand is like they're trying to figure out how to calculate the budgets. The DSA, which is the Detailed Service Authorization,
yes,
part of the new person-centered plan, it's automatically generated based on the number of hours that the CCS enters into that section of the plan.
That's correct.
So there is no calculation you have to do to come up with that budget. The calculation then becomes what's your maximum rate, and SDAN is working with DDA on a tool to help you do that, and we'll also have to talk to the FMSs and get this all worked out regarding what they need on their part, so they don't ever get stiffed by not getting reimbursed for the rates that they pay. So people are asking ask Natoya to clarify using COLA towards IFDGS. Can it only be applied to already approved IFDGS, or can they create new services not previously approved in the plan?
Right. So that's something that's, there's a COLA policy that was put out, I want to say it was in 2017, right? So the FMS will, continue on with that process as it relates to the previous COLA, as long as there aren't any new additional information that might be presented as it relates to how the FMS are to process the COLA. So as it relates specifically to the individual family directed goods and services, if it's a new service, then that new service should be in that plan, right? And so a person will go through that process for that. If it's something that's already in existence, then yes, they could, utilize those funds. So Meg, I hope I answered your question. If not, let me know. And Meg has my number.
If you're adding to a category that's already there for individual family goods and services, then you're good. If
Correct.
you're trying to do something new, then you need a DDA approval.
Correct.
Okay, so when are these, the last question is, so when are these rates apply, or when do they apply with the participant's new plan, or do we have to be concerned about this if we want to give the DSP a raise? I guess the new rates are the rates that are possible under the new
the DSA.
The DSA.
Right? That's correct. Yep.
As your plans renew, you'll be using the new tool, the DSA, as your plans renew, correct?
The DSA, the detailed service authorization process. So
Right.
the detailed service authorization tool is something that's been around for providers, traditional providers. So I just want to kind of just, differentiate the two so it won't be kind of confusing.
Okay, so the
it's very
detailed
close.
service authorization process, which uses the same numbers, same rates and
yeah.
same numbers.
There you go. Yes.
Okay. So the rates, I think the answer to the question is the rates apply as plans are renewed.
That's correct.
All right, so I'm gonna stop looking, and I'll let the other people look at the ones coming in, and I'm just gonna read the ones that came in before.
Okay.
So this may be for the FMSs. Then Natoya, can family members continue to get overtime pay? And I think I can answer it, so you guys tell me if I'm right or wrong. As long as we're under Appendix K emergency, yes. But after that, no. So tell me if that's right or wrong.
That's our understanding as well, Carol.
Okay.
I guess it's a better question for Natoya. We want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Look, I agree with you, Tracy. That's where we stand right now. So you're spot on.
Okay, so we're all in agreement. You
Yes.
can, as long as we're under the state of emergency and Appendix K is in effect. All right, then.
And so that's the minimum from 6 months from today, correct?
Like if it was ended today, it would be 6 months from today.
Right. That's why a minimum of 6 months from today.
6 months from the end of the state of emergency is when Appendix K will end.
That's
Gotcha.
correct.
Okay, my participant has a HRST score of 5. What must be done to use personal supports enhanced service in the PCP?
So we have a provider documentation, and I'm going to put that in the chat there, and it kind of speaks to what some additional information might need be to be provided. And it varies. And again, DDA regional offices are looking at each person as an individual, right? With consideration, of course, what's presented within the actual PCP. So I'm going to share that link now with all of you so that you can have it.
All right. Next question. Does DDA have processing deadlines for approval of PCPs? If so, what are they and where is this documented?
Yeah, some of that information is presented within the waiver, but what we also are aware of that it is a backlog. And so with it being a backlog, sometimes those deadlines are not being honored. But again, we also want to make sure that no one's health or safety is at risk. So if you happen to, in some cases, and some people have shared that they've submitted their plan, but it hasn't been, reviewed or approved at that time. And so again, things do happen. You can bring that to my attention, or you can bring to the attention of the regional offices as well.
Okay, so yeah, those would apply to people whose plans aren't approved. She's already told you how to reach her, and you want to hear from those people. Be careful what you ask for. So the other one, next one is, they're interested to know what to do if they have not received their COLA letter.
Yeah, so very interesting enough, we have the 3 waivers. We have the community pathways waiver as well as the family supports waiver. And so some of the letters that were presented to participants came out of for individuals who are enrolled in the community pathways waiver. However, individuals who are in the CSW, which is the community supports waiver, and the family supports waiver, those letters were not generated.
Okay, so we were trying to determine, there's a lot of people in community pathways that didn't get them. We've been trying to determine why, and our poll's not working, so we may have trouble coordinating all these things that were put into the plan, but that it might be when their plan year changes.
Right, that might be a possibility as well, because some people who went through the DSA process in the beginning of the year, they would have had, in some instances, that COLA amount included in their budget. There have been some individuals that have shared that it wasn't present in our team. Our fiscal and operations did go back and look, and in some cases it wasn't present. So they have reissued, information to the participant who may have inquired about that.
So is this something that you would want them to write to you about, or is there
Sure,
somebody
absolutely.
else?
No, that's fine. Absolutely.
That you can check into what happened and why, and what the status of their COLA is.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. This is kind of off the budget topic, but a lot of people ask SDAN this question. What is the process for requesting an alternate CCS, and is justification required?
Sure. So no justification is required. If a person is working with one particular CCS entity and they want to request someone else different, either within that entity, or they want to make a change to another organization, they can do that as well.
Carol, there's been a couple of questions about Appendix K. One question is, will there be additional hours added? I know there was a 360 hours added for an Appendix K to run. Will there be any additional hours added?
My understanding is no. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's my understanding too, but okay. I just thought I'd ask the experts here.
Yeah, at least as of right now, no, there hasn't been anything additional added to Appendix K.
Okay, and then the last one, outside of Appendix K, is there a future possibility to allow parents to work more than 40 hours in a service and waive overtime? Or can a parent work 40 hours in 2 different services and get straight time for it? Again, in other words, and waive overtime. Is that, Tracy, you look like you might have an answer there, but maybe not.
I was trying to understand the question.
So can a parent work more than 40 hours and waive the overtime?
Oh, yeah, there's the ability to do that on our timesheet. I can only speak to our processes,
Okay.
but we have the ability on our timesheet to do that, if I remember correctly. We think.
And that
It
is
is on your
out.
timesheet. Hold on, let me clarify. It
Go
is
ahead.
on your timesheet, but is that strictly for Appendix K?
Oh.
Because in the past, they were never able to work more than 40 hours. So this question is, once Appendix K is gone, is there any consideration to letting a parent work more than 40 hours but waive overtime? So it's just like regular employment.
Oh, okay.
That's a DDA question.
Thanks, Tracy. You just passed it on to me. I'll accept.
Will those flexibilities continue? I'm not sure. That's a good
Right, absolutely. So as of right now, there hasn't been, there's been discussions, obviously, right, with some of the flexibilities that have been offered during the Appendix K, as we have, all been a part of this global pandemic. But as of right now, there isn't additional information in relation to, what, if any, of those flexibilities that will continue.
Okay, that sounds like another survey question. How many people would be
It does.
interested in that?
It does sound like another survey question. How many people, of the Appendix K flexibilities, what's really working for people in self-direction? That would be a great one.
Right, okay, so now back to the old ones, and so thanks, Alicia, for monitoring, because I can't do both. One just says, when will our budgets get approved? We've answered that. If you're not approved, contact Natoya. She can't answer that without knowing more information. My son has always had a family member for a wake alert overnight service due to his multiple disabilities. Safety concerns have always been secured with my family. I would like to know if I can continue with this time frame for personal support. So that sounds like someone that's grandfathered if they've always had it. And the answer to that is likely yes, based on what Deputy Secretary Simons told us. And if you're not being grandfathered, you need to know that, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So
Anybody not
out there-
grandfathered should call right,
Sure.
leave Natoya down. Yep.
Right. So yeah. So if you had it, you lost it, you need to get in touch with Natoya.
Yeah.
If you still have
Carol,
it,
I'm gonna, okay, go ahead.
if you still have it, you should be able to keep it. If you ever start to lose it, get in touch with Natoya.
I think we should take one or two questions and then kind of move on so we can get people, out of here at 3.
Okay, well, we've still got a ton of questions. So how do we address all of them?
You pick the ones that the most people are asking, I guess.
I can't, they're everywhere. I think we answered the next one. There's one talking about monetary assistance to help care for a person in their home. It says guardians are not allowed to charge rent. I don't know that, but there's a lot of issues around 24/7 supports and overnight supports. It's just that's a new thing to add to it. When your budget ends, if your budget expires or your plan expires, you do continue to be paid. Everything continues to be paid based on your previous year's plan. Someone asked how the bill is doing and what we can do. I think we answered that. We don't need you to do anything right now. We answered that. All right. There's a question, where do we go if we're having problems with registry for the vaccine and not properly prioritizing? We do have a rep. You might want to talk to Andy Kopp then. Is that what we're advising people, or?
I think so. There is the COVID Vax phone number that people can call. Andy was working really hard on getting the counties to fix their websites, and they have. Tracy just put ARC FMS customer service ticket. Okay.
Okay.
Someone anyway, I think
Vax site. Someone also wrote to us at the Mass Vax site call center, or wrote in this long chat.
If you go to Maryland Department of Health, you'll go right to they have a site that is a main site. You can put in your zip code and it will show where places are around you that are doing that. There are pharmacies like CVS and Walgreens that are doing it, giant pharmacies doing it. You can sign up on your various county website, but that's probably your best bet as any individual person to start with the biggest world, which is the state of Maryland. There's some mass vaccination sites. People are having good luck with calling that number frequently until they get in and get an appointment.
Right, and then remember the Maryland Vaccine Hunters Facebook page. Some people are having success going through that.
Right.
Okay, we need to keep
posted
going.
a link. Yep.
Okay, so this was a question, what benefits can be requested for staff besides sick and safe leave? And what is the list of things that the COLA can be used for? We kind of touched on that, but it would be paid time off. It would be holiday differential. It would be basically, think of any benefit that a person employed by any other employer could get. We can't offer health insurance because it's just not easy, but you can do reimbursement for some of that. Tracy, you want to address any other benefits you've seen, or Jay?
We'll provide DDA's COLA policy and our guidance. It's very clear from that.
Okay, good.
All right,
And then there
let's
were
move
some
on.
concerns about the end of the budget mod document and having to just to move money, doing the whole plan over again. I don't think that's true. So if people are being told that, so is that, Natoya, FMSs, you still process budget mods, right? If you're moving from one category to another. It's if you want to do a new service that you would need to do the plan over again, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
We're processing budget modifications.
All right. I think that's pretty much it.
Yep, I think we
I
should
mean, there's
move
lots
on.
of other questions about the rates, but we'll try to help later on that.
One of a self-directed participants, Amanda, I hope you're still on, Amanda, had a great idea to create a Facebook group by and for participants. Did you want to say anything, Amanda? If you're still there.
I did. Yeah, I was wait a minute. Yeah, I did want to that's my thing is not can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
Okay,
fine.
good.
And
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I am interested in starting a Facebook group, but I don't know. Huh?
I thought we could use this opportunity to ask if anybody wants to help you with this great idea.
Yeah, actually, I could use some help with it because me being visually impaired, I don't know what to do with it.
I just wanted to give you credit, Amanda, for this wonderful idea, and to maybe offer or ask for anybody who might be interested to either say so in the chat or to contact. I don't know if you want to put your contact information. You don't have to, but if you want to put your contact information in the chat, they can contact you directly.
Yes, I will.
And then, we can help facilitate,
Whoops.
what you're doing. We can, so I just wanted to give you this opportunity to
I'm going
put it out there.
I'm going to put it in there right now, as a matter of fact.
Well, and also if any self-directed participants are interested, that we want to make sure that we, can facilitate connecting everybody up.
Perfect. But that's exactly what I was going to say. And I also had a question. I have a friend of mine who is in a wheelchair, and she is also looking for self-directed. But she has she needs help like 24 hours, but not like she can do a lot of things for herself, but it's just like, the restroom and everything. But she has her own special what do you call the chair, the chair what is it?
Well, no, is she looking to get into self-direction?
Yes.
Okay. So she should, is she already in DDA programs?
Yeah.
So she should contact her CCS. And if she has any issues with being able to make the switch, Natoya's right there for her.
Okay. Because we're looking to become roommates and we want to have the same services. So awesome. I have self-directed, and she wants it so that we can have. Can you hire? Because another friend of mine, Ken Capone, he has 4 staff that come and assist him. Can you hire as many staff as you need?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Yep. So if you want to put your information here, that's great. And there's somebody saying they have your information, and is a participant, and he's interested in participating too.
Yes,
So
perfect.
that's awesome. We'll help you gather other interested individuals, and we'll go from there.
Perfect.
All right, thanks, Amanda.
You're welcome. Thank you, Alicia. Oh, wait,
Yeah,
whoops,
Nick,
yeah.
yeah. You're right. You're good.
Just to
right,
let you know, that was Amanda. This is Sunny. Me and Amanda went to school together, and she is also blind like me. I don't know if you noticed, but she's also blind.
I did. So Sunny, I don't know, maybe you're interested in participating too. You guys can talk together and see what you think. So let's move on, I guess, to our closing. I'm gonna throw it back to Patty.
Okay, great. So, we recognize that there's a tremendous amount of conversation that people want to have about individual topics that can't be covered in a once a month general membership meeting. So we were just wondering if there's any interest in us kind of facilitating some subject matter kind of brown bag chats. Like we could just have a, short Zoom to talk about individual goods and family directed goods and services, or how to, we're certainly going to need something on how to do this calculations on this, the budget sheets. And so just, if you have any kind of interest in that, just let us know in the chat. And then we can actually just have a subject matter discussion versus trying to cover all the updates that we do during general membership. The other thing, I think it's really obvious to all of you now, like how incredibly busy we have been. And this small band of passionate people that you entrust with your information have been working really, really hard. And we're just going to tell you another really great thing that just happened is that we have developed a relationship with a consultant that is has a long history of work on the federal level and can advise us in terms of what the CMS really says and what is going, because oftentimes we run into, you can't have a certain service because CMS doesn't allow it. Or if we have that service in Maryland, it will jeopardize this federal match. Well, we have found this fantastic experienced consultant that it was really eager to work with SDAN on some of these issues. But I have to tell you, we got to pay for it. So, I guess my pitch is, if you're pleased with what we're doing, if you feel like you're benefiting from the work we're doing, send us some money. I mean, I hate to be that person asking, but this is an all volunteer, no money coming in kind of organization. And we really, really could benefit. So again, if you feel like that you're led to do that and it is, you're pleased with what we're doing to help you, please make a donation. I think you can go to the website and do that, or you can certainly contact through email, but we really could use the help specifically to be able to afford. And believe me, this consultant is so eager to help grassroots efforts like our own that she is keeping her prices low. We think she's worth it. We've thought about it long and hard as to whether or not we really want to try to afford a consultant, and we do believe that she's worth it. And we think that she will be invaluable to us as we continue to negotiate with DDA on some certain things that we've been talking about today. So we thank you so much for putting up with all of our questions and giving us your input, and we'll take your help any way we can get it, volunteering, giving us money, or simply just responding to our surveys. If I have forgotten anything, again, we do have the Facebook pages, we have the website. If I've forgotten anything else, any of the other board members want to chirp in?
Just going to say another thank you and encourage your friends, your family, your DSPs, other participants who may not know about us to join us. There is great power in numbers, and the work we've done this last month or two has definitely proven that. So thank you all very much for coming today.